We are Codebreak, and welcome to Codebreak Album Club. This is the thing we're going to do where we're going to each pick an album over the next few weeks, however long we're stuck in quarantine for, and we're going to chat about them and we're going to score them. So the first episode is me, so it's my pick. So, but firstly, we're going to introduce everybody else in the band. So, Gareth
Irons, smiling politely. Bass.
Andy
Heim, drums.
Gary
Bagley, guitars.
And I'm Carl, and I do singing, sort of. So yeah, as I was saying, this is our first one, so he's going to pick an album each over the next few weeks or so. And today's album, my pick, is Feel the Darkness by Poison Idea, which is also behind Gary as well. This isn't the original one, this is the new repress I got a couple of Christmases ago off my wife. So what we're going to do is we're going to eventually give the album a score out of 10, and we're going to chat about it and pick our favourite songs or least favourite songs, just bits about the band. So couple of facts about Poison Idea. Poison Idea are an American punk band from Portland, Oregon. They were formed in 1980 and originally dissolved in 1993, but have been off and on since. I saw them last summer at Rebellion Festival in Blackpool. I think the singer, Jerry A, is the only original member in the band at the moment, from my understanding anyway. Feel the Darkness, the album we're going to talk about tonight, was released in 1990. The members of the band that recorded the album at the time were Jerry A on vocals, some great names here, Mondo on guitar and piano, Pig Champion on guitar, on drums, The Hippie Slayer, and on bass, Merkel Fichtner. And a quote about the album and about Poison Idea, which I sort of looked into and found, which I thought pretty much sums this album up and the band, was a reality of desperation, salvation, a longing for escape, self-abuse and sabotage, painted against the canvas of searing riffs and thunderous rhythms. Imagine Motorhead meets Chuck Berry in a bar fight, headed up by a certain social blast chaotic master named Darby Crash. So what did we think of Feel the Darkness? I'm going to go to Gareth first. What are your thoughts on it?
I liked it. I feel like it might be a grower, which is a shame because I hadn't heard it at all until Monday. So this might be some unfair stuff. I've got a few notes to put down. Firstly, I wasn't expecting it to start with piano. You don't really sort of think, oh, here comes a hardcore album. I bet it starts with piano.
So there's Mondo on piano.
Yep. Got a bit of a bag of Faith No More off of that. But the first track, which is called Plastic Bomb, that really reminded me of Offspring, of Smash, which would be an album that would come out a few years later. It's like that sort of structure and feel to it for me. And then and off it goes. I think there's two sort of main points to get to on the album, which is Alan's on Fire, which is track 8. That's actually my favorite, I think. And then Feel the Darkness, which is the last track, or is it? I'm sure we'll come to that. Which is, both of those sort of stand out quite a lot in it. And it's not just because they're longer. Feel the Darkness itself, especially, has a different sort of musical style, almost like a jazz kind of beat underneath it. And yeah, there's a number of sort of short songs that sort of pack around that. And those are the ones where I feel like I've only scratched the surface with them because they sort of fly by a little bit. Oddly, I find that shorter songs take longer to grow on me. But yeah, I thought it was really good. Thanks for introducing it to me.
Okay.
And a great anti-cops one as well. I don't feel like a punk album is complete without an anti-police song. So that brought a smile to my face.
Yeah, the first song is my least favorite song on the album. I don't know. I just really don't like that song, but I agree on Feel the Darkness. I feel like that is a great song. When I first heard that song, I thought it was a bit stupid. That bass line, it was a bit, but once it gets going and you know the sort of the hook of it, we like feel the darkness is the line in it. Yeah, agree with you on that one. Andy, what did you think?
Yeah, I've obviously known about this band for many years. Weirdly though, I never went out and bought like an album. I always had them on mixtapes. So a lot of the time, years ago, if I had something on mixtape, I wouldn't then go out and buy it because I felt like I'd already listened to it. But you know, anyway, when Gareth, before you were saying about Faith No More, when I hear that first song, Plastic Bomb, the piano reminds me straight away of the end of a Faith No More song, Epic. So you're all aware of that one, yeah? And as soon as I heard it, I thought, that reminds me of that. It just sort of put me into that frame of mind. But it's a nice start, and then it comes in really powerful, the first song, and it's, and then we're away then, sort of with a fast beat and everything. I've been listening to it all week. Obviously, I listened to it years ago, but I've listened to it quite intensely this week with my headphones on while I've been going out for isolation walks. And I'm amazed at how good the musicianship is on it. Because you think that they're definitely like an old sort of a band that have been like passed by, and not, I would imagine that well, I was reading into the history of all of the band members as well. I know the drummer ended up going like off the rails, and I think he ended up in prison in the end. With like, and just ended into a drug addict and started robbing like, news agents and garages and everything. But when you listen to the musicianship, especially the drumming, for me, it's absolutely fantastic. And it's not just like straight punk beats. There's all sorts of like intricate things. And by the end of this week, when I'd finished listening to it loads, I thought, oh my God, Poison Idea are like the Rush of like, hardcore punk metal crossover. And also, I always think when I listen to them as well, back way when like sort of DRI and Corrosion of Conformity was sort of crossing over into like punk and metal. I think Poison Idea was doing it without any sort of idea of what crossover was. I think they were just like, they've been influenced by you can hear it, all the influences in the songs. I was listening to the song at the end as well, the title track, Feel the Darkness, and it's like, I was thinking like in 1990, what drummer would have used brushes play like, on a hardcore album? And it's a great song. And Jerry A with his phrasing as well on that song, it brought to mind Henry Rollins as well. I can hear some, especially in that song, I can hear some Henry Rollins like phrasing of lines and stuff. But yeah, it's a brilliant album. I'm gonna like when I get paid next week, payday, I'm gonna hunt it out on tape, because I love my tapes. And just stick it on. But yeah, what was the other one I've got? The Badge as well, which we all know, Pantera covers.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Yeah,
the film, I think it was The Crow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously that's a choice that they could not, sort of, you can hear like metal bands hearing that and thinking, yeah, we'll cover that one definitely, and it's made for Pantera, if you like, with the riff and everything. But I was reading a little bit about this week about Pig Champion as well, and just it was other people talking about his guitar playing, and I was listening to it and thinking, shit, he's like a really shit hot guitarist. And I think they're overlooked by in general, sort of thing, and it's sad in a way, because it's such a good band, and then eventually it's drugs and drink and everything. But it happens to a lot of bands, as just sort of, I don't know, it's sort of spoiled it for them a little, I don't know, but it is what it is. But
yeah, I think that's a common theme, like through the history, was that they did sort of have a lot of problems with addiction, and they were quite open as a band as well, so they never sort of like fit in anywhere they went. Where they were from as well, being from Portland's kind of like not necessarily what you'd think of being like a sort of hotbed for punk you know, and metal. I mean, did become that sort of later on in other times, but he went from LA and he went from the East Coast, so
Yeah, I
it's
think
kind
that
of like he didn't fit in anywhere.
a lot of the lyrics are very nihilist as well, aren't they? Nihilistic.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all about sort of, you know, you and, you know, we're living in this shithole and we're going to sing about it. But to me, anyway, the greatest thing that stuck in my head was the musicianship, and I thought, you know, wow.
Gary?
Yeah, I first heard, well, the first time I heard songs by them was from that Pantera cover of The Badge, and then I don't know whether it must have been just after, on like a Kerrang compilation. Machine Head did a cover of Alan.
Yeah, Machine Head.
Yeah. So that was the first time I'd heard anything, and I knew they were both covers. It was kind of clear that they were both covers of Poison Idea, but I didn't actually hear the Poison Idea versions or any kind of Poison Idea until it was late 90s, and it just, I think at that point, because I kind of gone a lot more into like the pop punk and getting really into that, it was to me it was like I didn't really get it. It was too close to like metal, you know.
Yeah.
It sound metal. It didn't really, because everyone was saying, you know, this is like, these are punk, and I was thinking it's quite metal though. It's quite, you know, there's like loads of like leads and there's loads of like really heavy sounding songs.
Chuggy.
Yeah, chuggy sound, and just the structures, because you can kind of tell that they've got like a real Motorhead feel to a lot of the songs, and so at the time I was like, it didn't really grab me, and it was only like over time when I thought, you know, again, it was probably based on the fact that kind of Carl had gotten into them, and I was hearing them being mentioned by other bands a lot on podcasts and what have you, and so I kind of dipped back in. And I think the other problem with the album, to me, is the same as Carl was saying, is I think Plastic Bomb is probably the weakest song on the album. And I'm not a fan of Feel the Darkness as a song either, but that run in between is just incredible. It's faultless, and it's so like heavy and quite thematically. There's like a lot of kind of there's kind of a common theme of like, yeah, like, you know, isolation and anti-authoritarian and dysfunctional relationships, lots of subtext around mental health problems, and obviously you got the badge for anti-fascism, but it's all angry. It's like the whole thing is angry, and but it's wrapped up in this recording which is really well recorded.
Yeah.
It's not a punk album which is just really raw and scrappy sounding, and you know, everything sounds really lush and really put together, so that there's a really nice balance between all the instruments. And like as Andy was saying as well, the musicianship is incredible. It's just, yeah, there's not one part which is weak for any of it, from the vocals right through to the drums. And Andy might be able to kind of tell me about this, but is there a lot of reverb on the drums? It sounds.
I think back in like sort of the 80s and early 90s, that was the you know, the big thing in recording studios in general. They always put a lot of reverb, and then they sort of went away from it. And
I think for this, it's again just with the idea of it sounding really, really heavy. It really adds to that feel, like having that kind of reverb sound on the drums just makes it really deep sounding. The whole kind of overall balance of the instruments.
And Big Champion's guitar sounds really good too, doesn't it? Some really nice tone stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I think just it's a brilliant album. The fact that the changes of kind of tempo and speed between different songs, but just everything is just delivered with like such a ferocity. It's a hard album to kind of, I think it's a hard album to get into, but like you know, Gareth was saying, I think it's going to be a grower. I think it is. I think it's something where you kind of start hearing things which you maybe didn't hear the first half dozen times you heard it, and it's something that, because of that, it's got longevity to it.
Sound. Very quickly, yeah. It's one of my favourite records. I love it as an album. Very quickly, what I say is we'll pick 2 songs each that we really like on it. So mine are Painkiller. I love that song. Love the riff in it. I think that's a great song. And then I would have to say probably Just to Get Away. I think the drums in that song are brilliant. So they're my 2 favourites probably on the song, and then probably in third place I'll probably say Feel the Darkness, the song itself. Gareth, favourite tracks?
I'm going to go for Alan's on Fire and The Badge, and I'm also going to put Feel the Darkness at third. It's a perennial third place of that.
Andy?
Can I go for, Gareth mentioned this before, can I go for the song that's on some versions after Discontent, which is absolutely brilliant. It's, yeah, so I want to go for that one. Also, obviously The Badge, love the riff in that. Yeah, I'll go for them too.
Gary?
Alan's on Fire is definitely the one that, say, from that first time hearing it with Machine Head, hearing the actual original is just, it's such an incredible song. I think for a second, it's, I would probably go Discontent as well, or Deep Sleep. I love that. So, like, because of the fact that I'm not a massive fan of Plastic Bomb, I think the fact that it just turns it up on that second track, it just, it's brilliant.
I think Discontent as well, you can definitely hear like almost like a Japanese sort of hardcore influence.
Yeah.
It's more like got like a D-beat kind of Discharge feel to it. And I think originally that wasn't on, and then they added it later or something. There's different versions of it on. But I think on the Spotify version, which we've probably all been listening to, it's the last song on that. So yeah, that's a brilliant song. So we're gonna give it a score now, and then we'll call it quits. So I'm gonna give Poison Ideas. Yeah,
sorry. Just before we give our scores, can I just? Oh, they won't take long. Just you know the cover.
Yeah, well, I was gonna mention the cover.
I thought it was Alice Cooper.
Yeah, it does look like him. Yeah,
it's apparently it is Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim, yeah. And it was, I think it's a reaction, isn't it, to like, because he was like a falsetto folk singer, I think.
And ukulele player.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. So I was looking at him today, like videos and stuff, and it's quite bizarre. Anyway,
well, the story I also heard about it was that Tiny Tim found out about his image being used on the record, and he tried to sue Poison Idea, but Poison Idea had no money, so he just gave up and just said, "What's the point?"
That's what all these are on the artwork for that reissue, is all like letters from Tiny Tim's lawyer.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. So I need to find the reissue, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the stories about Poison Idea are mental. Like, I remember hearing one story that Pig Champion, who was the guitarist, was that fat and like just really unhealthy that when they used to book, I don't know how true this is, but that when they used to book tours, he would have to have two seats on a plane because he couldn't fit in one seat, and would charge for 2 people. So like the promoter would have to pay for like 2 seats on a plane to bring them over and stuff. I mean, he sadly passed away, but I've seen videos of him playing, and there's one I've seen where he's just like sat down on a chair at the back, just like playing, and the rest of the band are going all over the place, and he's just like just sat really quietly at the back. But so scores. So I'm going to give Feel Darkness by Poison Idea 9 out of 10. So scores out of 10. So Gareth, what are you going to give it?
Well, I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. But like I say, I think there's potential there for if you come back to me in a couple of months, that might have grown a point or 2.
Okay.
But yeah, they're a good album. Good album.
Andy?
I want to give it an 8 out of 10. I was thinking about it today, and it is a great album. But I suppose if anyone hadn't heard them before, it's a little bit. Don't get me wrong, it's great musicianship and everything, but the songs are a little bit sort of all over the place, and you can't quite sort of grasp what genre it is, but that might be a good thing as well. But it's
Yeah.
definitely an album that I listen to a lot. Like, so I'm going to give it a good solid 8 out of 10.
Gary?
I'm going to go 8 out of 10 as well. Like I've said, that the first and official last track kind of put it down a bit. But I say there's just the in-between bits are just brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, so overall, I'd probably say that's probably an 8 out of 10 for Field of Darkness from Cobra. So we'll be back for episode 2, and another member of the band will be picking an album for us to listen to and review. So thanks, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Just before I go.
Oh, yeah, just before.
See you soon.
Unfortunately, I can't play a gig at the moment, so it shall be on the first Cobra gig we play after All the Madness ends.
Which will doubtlessly be at Outpost. We just don't know when.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.